As each year goes by, it becomes ever more apparent that we have a crisis on our hands. Young people are leaving the faith in droves. New parents are not raising their children in the faith. Our elderly, arguably the last generation to grow up in a society where faith was the norm, are dying off, becoming disillusioned, or simply don't have the energy to lead others any longer. In 20 years, where will our church be? What happens when we push forward just one generation, and today's lackluster parents are the world's elders? Today's kids are parents and expected to be leaders of the faith. 2,000 years ago, Jesus asked, "When the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth?" And I'm beginning now to see that this is not a rhetorical question. This is an alarm bell of a very serious, very real problem. At least in the West, in the US, Canada, and Western Europe, the Christian faith is fading away. Which should necessarily cause us to ask a very simple question. Why? What's causing this? What has changed in the past 100 years? And what can we do differently? Unfortunately, there isn't one clear answer. One can look to the horrors of World War II and see that many people were left disillusioned and traumatized. This led to the societal upheavals of the 1960s and the push for secularism and the rise of the new atheism. The near universal change in the approach to LGBT people in society, particularly among young people, has become a major stumbling block to a church that maintains traditional values. Really, it could be as simple as the fact that we live in a world where institutions of any kind are looked on with suspicion, and the very idea of objective truth is seen as an affront to the individual free-thinking person. These are not small issues, and so even if our house was fully in order, even if we as a church were healthy and vibrant, the work of evangelization would be an uphill battle. The fact that our house is not fully in order makes this issue even that much more complicated. In the past 60 years, we've witnessed the priest abuse crisis, the reform of the liturgy and the subsequent battles over its implementation, growing polarization among the bishops, debates over major doctrinal issues, and the realization that the church is no longer relevant to the outside world, to name but a few issues. Naturally, solutions abound for how to fix the church. Some desire to circle the wagons, creating a narrower, stricter, more uniform church that stands against the world. Others go the opposite direction, calling for the change of certain teachings to put ourselves more in line with the world, and thus more inclusive and attractive. Some say that the liturgy is the answer. Others, catechesis. Others still, traditional families. If we just fix this one thing, focus our energy on this one magic bullet, the kids will come back. I'm not so sure. A few years ago, I addressed this question in what I thought, at the time, was one of my best videos. It was my manifesto in a way, a look into what my life in ministry is about, really what my life is about. It was an explanation of why I'm a Christian and what I believe the world needs above all else. But it was a flawed video. The reason I say that I thought it was one of my best videos at the time is not because I think more recent videos are better, but because I've come to see the inadequacy of what I said before. I still think it's a good answer and ultimately in the right direction, but there was something fundamentally missing in my assessment. The cross. For nearly 10 minutes, I waxed eloquent about how we need more personal encounters with Jesus, that no amount of catechesis or liturgy or canon law will mean a thing if people have not been evangelized, if they've not felt Jesus in their lives. And in one sense, I stand by that. That remains my essential belief as to why people are leaving the church today, that they simply haven't had a meaningful encounter with God. But what does that even mean? What does that leave people with once they've finished watching that video? There were no specifics, no concrete solutions. Just language like, church should be a place where people can have a mystical experience of God and God's people, and doing all that we can to facilitate a personal encounter between Christ and the world. For 10 minutes, I talked about encountering Christ, about having a personal relationship, being vulnerable, finding intimacy, all the usual catchphrases, and yet did not once get to the literal crux of the matter, the cross. And so, let me try again. Let me try to be a little more specific in what I mean. While there is no magic formula for evangelization, nor is there a step-by-step guide to bringing people back, I know for sure that it must involve one thing: becoming aware of the fact that we are broken, but that Christ can heal us. It means becoming intimately aware of our own weaknesses, sinfulness, tragedies, disappointments, and betrayals, all of the things that lead to a life that diminishes and destroys, to the point that we accept that we are not enough on our own. It's about looking into the depths of despair and realizing that we cannot do anything to keep us from sinking, but Jesus can. From our place of utter helplessness, we can look to Jesus Christ on the cross, to God in his own pain and suffering, in our own experiences of weakness and betrayal, and see that he has conquered it all. On the cross, he took everything that diminishes and destroys, and he turned it into life. He took what we could not fix, and he fixed it. He took what brings us fear, what fills us with existential dread, what drives us to do horrible things just to feel in control, and he redeemed it. He sanctified it. He made it an opportunity for grace and love and forgiveness so that we might be saved. Now, for many Catholics, any sort of saved language makes us feel a little uncomfortable. Sounds a little too Protestant, right? Well, maybe that's the problem with Catholics today. We don't realize that we were saved on the cross, that we are being saved through our life of sanctification, that we will be saved in the final judgment. I'm not so sure that we feel it in our hearts. I don't think it wells up in our lungs, energizes our steps, lifts our spirits, and radiates through our veins. And if it doesn't, who cares about any of this? Truly, what difference does it make if we pray in Latin or English if Christ doesn't save? Why care one bit about anything theology has to say if Jesus doesn't take away our sins? Canon law, the Bible, the Summa Theologia, the theology of the body, and every single works of mercy you can imagine are utter rubbish if behind it all isn't a deep-felt appreciation for the fact that we were lost, but Jesus found us. When I said in the other video that we must have a personal encounter, this is what I meant to say. This is what I should have said. It's about getting in touch with the one who saves. So how do we do this? How do we jumpstart the life of the church in the work of evangelization? For starters, we have to talk about the cross more. Forget fish fries and knitting clubs. I want to hear more personal testimonies from people of faith about how they have been rescued by Jesus. I want young people to meet parishioners who know what rock bottom feels like and yet live every day with joy because Jesus has lifted them out of it. Let this be a catalyst for talking to young people about what leads to destruction, pathways that are not life-giving, so that they can see what is life-giving, what does make people truly happy. Let this be the inspiration and guide for everything that we do. As Christians, every liturgy, every meeting, every act of mercy, everything, absolutely everything that we do should flow from the joyful acknowledgement that we have been saved in order to share that good news with others. If it doesn't, and I don't mean to be too flippant about this, but if it doesn't, what's the point in anything? I believe that this is why people leave. This is why they look at the church and say it isn't relevant to their lives. In too many cases, we see religiosity without salvation, devotions without any good news. I don't know if it's simply a matter of messaging, that people don't know how to share what they've found, or if there's a deeper problem, that religious leaders have never actually had an encounter with the cross. But without it, there is no reason to stay. Our liturgies are not beautiful enough on their own. Plenty of organizations do good work. Some are far easier to join, ask a lot less of its people, and provide a lot more entertainment. Unless there is a palpable sense in our people that they have been healed, that there is a real answer to our inevitable suffering and death, people are going to move on. They're going to search for healing somewhere else. They may not be coming to church, but everybody worships something. Everybody is looking for the answers to the deep questions of life. And if they don't find it with us, they're going to move on. If we want young people to find the church relevant, if we want parents to raise their children in the faith, if we want the elderly to go to their graves with joy, having devoted their life to faith, what Jesus did on the cross has to be personalized and concretized. He did this for you. And so, more than just sharing our own stories, the essential mission of the church is to help others find theirs. Facilitating an encounter with Jesus means bringing to the fore their own weaknesses, their own fears, their own sinfulness, their own realization that they cannot save themselves so that they can look for the one who can. This means teaching people how to pray meaningfully, accompanying them through their difficult questions and stumbles, and introducing them to the mysteries of the church, the works of mercy, silence, ritual, sacred space, music and song, sign and symbol, storytelling. Then, and only then will the church matter. Then and only then will people be open to a different way of life, to hearing what the church has to say about this moral precept or that teaching. It is about helping people encounter their own salvation in the cross of Jesus Christ. Figure out how to do that. Make that your ultimate goal, and I guarantee you, the church will grow. Put the cross at the center of everything you do, and trust that the resurrection will follow. Hey everyone, just wanted to say happy Holy Week and to add a little note of thanks here. I was inspired to make this video after going to a talk by Joe Propraki at Religious Education Congress a few weeks ago. While the overall concept is just the kerygma, some of the language I used and many of the suggestions came directly from his talk, and so I wanted to give him credit for these ideas. He's written a number of books that are fantastic, and so I highly recommend that you check them out.